This is the DE68 Hey channel.
I had very little time to actually read where do you actually come from and all that, but where do you actually hail from?
Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Uptown Minnesota.
And where are you still living there? You know, you started at the age of 19, right? When you put your first albums together for Warner's.
No, I was supposed to be 18, but I was 17.
You were 17. Now, was it difficult for you to actually get a deal with Warner's at that age?
It was difficult for me to produce my album at that age. They didn't want me to produce my own records for that reason. I thought I was young and inexperienced. So they got an executive producer on my first album.
This is for you, right? And but the role that the executive producer had was just to supervise the whole thing.
Well, he was supposed to help out and cut corners, help me cut corners and things like that, and basically teach me the studio, but he didn't. So it took a long time to do the album. It's pretty painstaking.
Now, did you actually have a lot of material for the album already prepared, let's say from way back, or did you have to compose it there and then?
Most of it was pretty old stuff.
What was, let's say, the strength of making a very strong debut album as such? Did you require I mean, there it was, you know, like your first album, you've got to make like the strong impact sort of thing. You were obviously nervous about the fact. How nervous were you?
Very. I'm not really nervous as much as I wanted to make it good and bereft of mistakes, and in the process it took a long time to make, and probably why I don't listen to it anymore for that reason.
You don't listen to it?
No. It was a perfect record, and I don't know, it was too scientific.
How did you feel actually when you had to go and talk to all those, you know, big men, cigars, and Century City, those sort of Burbank, you know? I mean, how did you feel coming from Minnesota? I mean,
I feel the same way when I have to talk to anybody. I'm usually nervous. I don't like meeting people so much for the first time. I mean, I like to meet them, but I don't like to have to talk. I'd rather they do all the talk. But I found myself answering a lot of questions and things like that. They didn't talk to me too much. I listened most of the time. It wasn't so bad.
did you actually have a manager then as well? So you had somebody to conduct the right deal for you? Now you've said that you didn't do too much talking. Do I get the assumption that you are not too keen on interviews as well?
No, not too terribly keen on interviews.
What actually made you sort of shy away from interviews? And
well, the first ones I did were a little strange. I got misquoted a lot, and a lot of people just didn't believe me. They thought I was either a fixation of someone's publicity stunts, or I was just a big liar or something. And I don't know, I had to deal with a lot of psychiatrists, so to speak.
in what way were they saying that you were a liar?
Well, I don't know. One thing they don't believe this is my real name. Another thing, they don't believe the clothes I wear. They think I'm doing it to gain attention or something like that.
Now I must jump from that to a track called Uptown. on your album. Now that, I presume, is pure autobiographical, am I right?
Yeah.
Is actually your stuff all
This
based
new
on
album is-
experiences?
The new album is, yeah.
Right, the Dirty Mind album. Now, on Uptown, there it's quite disturbing that you had to go through what you had. In other words, you've described that you always wanted to be up there, and there's a good life and Uptown. Is that literally how it was?
No, Uptown's more or less a state of mind, and it has nothing to do with financial status. It all has to do with how free you are inside, and how good you feel about yourself, and how strongly you feel about yourself, and what you stand for, and your beliefs. And that's what that was about. It's like me and my group, and other people like us that we hang around, we get a lot of slack for the way we dress and stuff like that. And the first impression they get is that we're gay. That's what they usually do when they don't understand something. People where I come from, they usually just write it off as being gay or something like that. And it was saying that our clothes and the way we act and things we say and our ways of doing things have not that,
Society doesn't tell us the way to dress, right?
Don't judge a book. It's just saying
I mean, do you actually get people coming up to you and asking you about your sexual inclinations?
all the time.
But if so, that's perhaps why they were taking you as a liar, maybe, because they saw the way you dress and they thought he can't be right. How long did it take you to have to prove to all those people that you were what you were?
I don't think they understand yet. I think if they look at me long enough, they'll get the picture.
Now, were you influenced by what goes on around in Minnesota about your appearance and how you wanted to grow up and be like?
I'm sure to some extent. What it was that I had a lot of free-minded friends who were into individuality, and you were ridiculed often for copying people and picking up trends and wearing what everybody else had on and saying what everybody else said and playing the same kind of music as everybody else. So what happened is a great deal of competition grew out of it, and you sort of competed with the other musicians and the other artists around town. And through that, I guess you come up with your own little clip.
Now, I've never read biographies which have used so many adjectives in describing you, comparing you to many people and things like that. I mean, one of them, I don't know, that made me laugh. He said, Prez has got a bit of something funk and a bit of the plasmatics. I wish they obviously trying to put a picture onto you. You have also been described as outrageous, but how do you yourself see yourself?
Never had to answer that question. I don't think I really look. I don't. One thing I try to do is analyze myself. I just do something that feels right, whether it's musical or physical or whatever. I don't plan things. I don't take time to think about things. I just do them. Sometimes I reflect afterwards. Sometimes I don't. I'm always looking for new outlets and new highs, I guess.
Has there been moments, let's say after a gig, and you say, geez, I was wild there?
No, one time I saw a videotape of one of our concerts, and I didn't believe that was really me, so I don't watch them so much anymore.
Do you actually? I mean, you've started. What I was reading is that you've started as a musician, or I mean, playing instruments here and there at a very early age, and your parents come from a jazz background, right? Did that affect you at all? Did it affect your upbringing? Because then I believe you actually left home at a very early age as well.
Yeah, it didn't affect me in any way, I don't think, because my father left when I was 7, and he was really the only one that was really musical. My mother sang for him, but she sang lead in the band, but she was, she wasn't that good. She only lasted a month with him, and he got somebody else. And when he left, that's when I picked up the piano, because he didn't allow anyone to play it when he lived there. So I don't think it affected me too much. If anything, my mother disliked the fact that I played, because I was a lot like him, and that's what broke them apart. And that's eventually what broke me and my mother apart too. I left home when I was 12. And that was after she remarried. And that's when I started my own band.
So music was the thing that broke you up?
Oh, I'm sure it was. And the fact that I wanted to do what I wanted to do. She disliked some of the lyrics I wrote and things like that.
Did your lyrics then reflect what you are doing today as well?
Yeah. Probably more so then than now.
Did she perhaps imagine that you maybe just end up playing in some sleazy jazz bar downtown?
Just like my father.
What do you, I mean, if you look at that, are you playing to a different audiences now? Are you not playing to, the blues? I mean, I'm going to say the blues, I mean those type of, crowded piano, jingle-jangle thing. But how do you view those things? How do you view those places? Because I think they're remarkable.
I don't know. When I used to play them, I liked them. Because, I guess basically because I was disregarded, I suppose. I mean, people didn't pay much attention when we used to have to play. The only times I got any recognition was when I was real young and I went in a joint and played for people, but I think they're alright. I think they serve their purpose.
Now, was that when you, when you're playing those bars, was it when you had the band called Champagne?
Yeah.
So what did Champagne consist of? What music were you playing?
Top 40.
Top 40 stuff.
We were a human walking jukebox.
Otherwise you won't be accepted, right?
Right. That's pretty sick,
What a hard life. Did you... we'll talk about the lyrics a bit later on, but... Well, first of all, how do you look at your lyrics? Are they filthy, outrageous, dirty, as people say, or do you see them as clean, nice sex,
I think, I don't think sex is dirty at all.
No, this is right.
I think it can be described as anything, just as soccer or something like that can be described. I mean, see people fall around in the mud and stuff like that, It's funny, but I don't know, I think society places a lot of emphasis on adjectives too much. They should just concentrate basically on the equal sign, what they get after it's all over.
I think this is somebody said the other day that I can't remember who the hell it was, but he said that the world is totally obsessed with sex, but they're very afraid to admit that they like it.
Oh yeah, very much so.
But then they attack a person like you for writing, say, lyrics like "head," for example, you know, which is, you can't get more simpler than that.
Yeah. Well, I think anybody that breaks out of the norm is going to get attacked anyway. You know, I get attacked for the clothes I wear. So, you know, anything different, they're going to go after you. But I guess maybe to some degree I must crave that deep down.
Where do you think you've picked up all that from? From the clubs, or the things that you write about, the sexual thing, or the badness, maybe? I've always written real explicit, and I've always said what was on my mind. Sex was always most interesting to me because it dealt more with human life than anything. The reproductive process and the whole idea of it, the fact that people lose their cool behind it is enough to write about to me. When I was young, I used to read my mother's dirty books that she had hidden in her bedroom. That was after my father left. I always rambled through her things. And when I got sick of reading those, when I was done with them, I would write my own. So I think I'd sort of carry on in the rest of my writing. Have you reconciled with your family?
Have I what?
Reconciled, have you gone back?
No.
So as far as you and they are concerned, you don't exist, or they don't exist?
No, I won't say that. I mean, I don't consider them dead, but, you know, we don't talk too much.
Now, when you left home, you went to your aunt's, didn't you? Or you went to a friend?
I went to a lot of different places. Aunts and friends and more friends and then homes and stuff.
And I was reading a very interesting thing in your biographies when you went to, I think, one of your friends, where you were really scared about what you were doing. And it says, the biography says that the person told you, is that girl still down there or something like that, and after she leaves, just lock the door, and you felt freedom from then on. Is that literally the time when you said, I can do what I like?
Basically, yeah. Well, I was a little older then, and I realized that I'd been on my own for a long time, and I really wasn't. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that I was on my own, but I didn't know it. You know, it's like I was alone, but I guess I didn't realize it up until that point. When she said that, I realized that I was growing older and I was an adult. You know, and from then on, I did do what I wanted to.
What are actually your roots? I mean, you are not a black American, the black American. Where do you actually come from? I mean, your roots come from?
Well, my father's black and part Italian, and my mother's Italian with something else in it, and that's basically it.
Is it known publicly, your surname, or you don't reveal that?
I think it might be known, probably at home. My real name is Prince. That was my dad's name. My last name's pretty sickening, so I don't use it.
Okay. Now, when you had, let's say, to present your show on stage and things like that, you obviously had thousands of eyes on you, people saying, well, let's see what he's like. and people were comparing you to comparing your vocals to Smokey Robinson, Curtis Mayfield, and all that, and your appearance is perhaps the moustache and the hair, and a bit Hendrix, and a bit here and there. You know, how do you react to that?
I dislike.
I mean, they're nice people. I mean, Hendrix was great. Smokey is great. You just like it, though.
Yeah, because I don't know. That was all that stuff was before my time. I guess Smokey's still making records, but when they were going on, they were before my time, and I didn't listen to that kind of music. I only played the music that was big during that time because I had to, which made me dislike it a great deal because it was a boundary. So I didn't listen to those people, and it's upsetting when I get compared to them. I think I dislike anything that's pure, so to speak, and can be categorized.
Like pure jazz, pure blues,
and I like to. I just like to play everything. I'd rather do a combination of things rather than anything pure. I don't like anything pure now.
So you'd be happy with the tag that they put on you as soul, funk, jazz, disco, punk?
Well, I'm not happy with any tags, but that's a better one than just Smokey Robinson's son.
You sing in a falsetto.
Out of necessity.
Out of necessity?
And it hurts to sing in a low voice. My natural singing voice is a falsetto.
Are there any actually people that you admire?
As singers?
As singers, yes.
No, not singers. I admire speakers more so than I do singers.
Speakers?
They play better music.
Like who, for example?
Oh, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King. People like that. They could move a crowd of people a lot better than any singer could. They spoke with a lot of emotion. There's a lot of people that are good speakers, but
I think Nixon was a good speaker as well.
Oh yeah. He tricked a lot of people.
Right, one of the best.
Deceitful musician.
But as regards you picking up, I mean, you play what? How many instruments? God knows. All of them, right?
Well,
all the basics, the bass, drums.
Yeah, I think most instruments are related once you learn the basics. They're pretty easy after that.
Was actually the person that I can show any similarity, that can draw parallel to you as feeling and wanting to do what you want to, is Jimi Hendrix, really. Do you draw anything towards that person?
He's dead, isn't he?
Yeah. No, but I mean, he was the first guy, you could say the first black guy to not play funk music or soul music, although he played it in his music, and to do what he wanted, you know.
You see, a lot has to do with society. I mean, there are a lot of black musicians who play other types of music, but the doors aren't open in every field like they are in R&B music. And I think once society changes, you'll probably find a lot of great musicians. Music is basically pretty boring now, as far as the scene here is much better. And I don't know of any, great bands, but just the spirit overall is a lot stronger than it is in the States.
I agree with you there.
It's relatively dead there. And I don't know, once society comes out of its bag, I think the musicians will too.
So you could perhaps have, I mean, who did you actually listen to? English musicians or English records?
No, I don't listen to music. When I'm not playing music, I don't listen to it. I don't like to do things in excess.
So you could be indirectly influenced by general things around you, radio, TV, people walking down the streets, bars.
More so people, Depends upon the situation I'm in. But I don't hear a lot of music where I am. And the place I live in is well, if you're a music lover, you die there, because all it is country and western music. Yeah, because the population is 90%, well, 98, 99% Swedish. I mean, it's real
country.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a fish out of water there?
We've set up our own little community that we hang around in our own little circle that we associate with. And it's I have enough friends. I'm okay.
Are you able to live the life that you want in Minnesota?
Yeah, I'll do that anywhere. It's important that one does that. That's what all our music is about. It's important that one does what he wants to do. He thinks what he wants to think.
I mean, being perhaps different from other people in the way you appear on stage and your lyrics, are you continuously pestered by governors and state people and things like that, and police
No.
perhaps?
I don't think I've reached that status yet. It's just more of I just think people on the street know who I am so far. I hope it never gets to that.
Sure. Well, what sort of life do you lead? I mean, do you have a big place, a nice place, a palace, or you just don't believe in all that?
Well, I don't know. I didn't think I really... See, what I'm told by my managers is like if in time you make a lot of money, you have to buy stuff like that.
Sure.
Now, I can always say that I don't want something like that, but I know I'll get something like that if it's between that and giving my money away to some politicians who are going to send my son off to chop up some foreigners, you know. So, I don't know. As of right now, I don't believe in it. I'm into reloading. I go from place to place, and whoever take me, and I have friends and stuff like that. So
You don't build any... I mean, for the image that you give on stage, I've never seen you on stage, but I saw it on you on Italian television last year. But the image you give on stage is very much of a hyper, ultra super thing, you know, like... In fact, reminds me a bit of George Clinton coming down from the flying saucer. I mean, there's a sort of thing. I mean, the ultra hyper thing. But do you actually like to live up to that? I mean,
no, it depends. It depends on what day it is and what atmosphere I'm in. I mean, it's hard to be hyper in church. But on stage, I am very hyper. Yeah.
Oh, did you come from a working class family? Or well off?
No, it wasn't well off, but it was. I can't complain. I mean, I changed a lot. When I grew up happy. I mean, I had everything I wanted, but I didn't want too much. I mean, we lived in a fairly nice home, and but practically every house around us was fairly nice. Once I ran away, though, it got pretty bad and dismal. But I grew used to that too.
So you've tasted poverty as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've definitely tasted that. Yeah, it can get pretty
Now,
scary.
you could say poverty taught you a few things. Taught you to choose your way of life.
It taught me that I was going to have to work. I think if I wasn't I think if people would have taken care of me, like when I was young, I think I would have just been a writer and just wrote all the time, instead of...
And be a typical high school kid.
Yeah, go to college and stuff like that. For what, I don't know, but I would have did something like that. But because I was poor, it made me realize I was going to have to work. So that's what made me get into music, because it was about the best thing I could do.
There's also the fact that you were poor make you really want to push yourself to become something, a well-known person.
That doesn't interest me so much.
Or achieve something remarkable there.
Not being poor doesn't do that to you. I mean, it didn't do it to me. I'm sure it does it to other people. I think a great deal has to do with my mother. My mother was a real go-ahead person, and my father is real leery about things. He doesn't jump like I am, but my mother's real hyper too, and I'm sure that's where I get it from. She likes it. She does everything, and she likes to do everything, and she likes to show people what she's done. So I think in some ways I'm like her in that respect. But being poor didn't do it to me. The only thing it taught me was that money would put food in your mouth, that's all.
What sort of jobs did you do, Prince? What sort of jobs did you do?
Didn't do it. I never worked.
You never worked?
Never worked. I would never work when I was young. I always... well, see, I started, though, once I got out of high school. I mean, you couldn't really do a job and go to high school at the same time as far as I was concerned. Once I got out of school, then I wanted to play music and write, so I didn't have time for a job.
Do you see this as a job?
Interviews, I believe.
No, I mean, I don't mean interviews. Your life now, performing, playing, making music.
Only in the respect that you get paid for it, but it's not I don't consider it work.
But you have to do it.
Yeah, I don't have to do it. I do it because I want to do it.
That's very important. Are you careful that you don't want to be trapped like, they were hurling Springsteen and you Bob Dylan? Are you careful not to let the record company or the people who are associated with you promote you as a thing?
I'm not, but I think my management is. I think they're very aware of that, and they're very intelligent. I don't think they'll let that happen. They don't like comparisons either. I'm with Steve sometimes, my manager, and if someone asks what kind of music I do, he says that you just have to see it. He can't really explain it, and that means more to me than somebody comparing me with Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen or anybody like that. I mean, not that I don't respect those guys at all, but I don't know enough about them to sit up and say that I'm anything like them or better than them. Nobody's better than anybody. Everyone's different.
I mean, how old are you now?
I'll be 21 in June.
You'll be 21? Jesus, when all those guys started, like Dylan, the people who they're comparing to you were still a baby, right? When they started.
Well, I started listening to radio heavy when I was about 13. That's when I had a band, and I had to. That was then it was work. I have to admit it was work, because I had to take records and dissect them and take each part and teach it to each member of the band, stuff like that, and it was pretty sickening.
So you had a producer's instinct at the time as well, right? Was that as a producer's instinct?
I guess you might say that. I don't know, I didn't look at it like that then. I just looked at it as something I had to do.
Did you actually record when you were with Champagne?
Well, we did a few demo tapes. They were pretty cheesy. I'm not going to say that. For our age, I thought they were excellent. I thought they were great, and I suppose if I heard them now, considering how young we were, they're pretty good arrangements and things like that.
But there were new numbers, or the arrangements of the top 40 material that you had?
There were some cover songs, and then there were originals, mostly originals. The originals were so risque, though, nobody was interested in. We had a terrible manager, and it was going nowhere.
If I had to ask you what's your favorite cover song that you've done of all time, would you be able to answer?
No, I hated every one of them I did. Because like I say, I had to do it out of necessity. And I didn't like doing other people's songs. I liked doing our own songs. They were far more true to life than the rest of the stuff I was singing about. I was singing about flowers and trees and cornflakes and stuff like that. And our originals were about what the teenagers were into at that time. Drugs and sex and music. And with the community we lived in and played around, they didn't want to hear about that. They wanted to hear about the flowers and the trees and how wonderful life was and and how wonderful life would be if you were with me and that kind of stuff. So.
Now you draw both black and white audiences to your gigs.
Mm-hmm.
You must feel that that is an accomplishment, something nice, right? That you're able to do.
Yeah, I think it's nice. I don't know what kind of accomplishment it is, but it's. I think it's nice that there are diversity of people there. Yeah, I think what I like most of all is that I like blacks and whites and straights and gays and conservative and non-conservative and they're all having a good time and they're not worried about who stole my seat and stuff like that and the fact that they are different. They're real attentive, which is important to me.
Mm-hmm. And when you get the audience there, they're all moving or whatever. I should imagine it's like, do you have to psych up to actually go up on stage? But do you have to build up to the event?
No, the things around me really do it to me. And if there's a crowd of people and we're getting pushed around or whatever, you get real nervous and it's not good to be too nervous when you go on stage though, because you lose energy quickly when I'm up there. When I'm excited, if the music excites me, like the last date we did, I was tired like 80% of the show. I was just exhausted because of the energy that was in the room. It was pretty scary.
Now the way you dress on stage, which has been described as G-strings or jumps.
Underwear. They're underwear.
Right. And really warm and all that. Have you, was that your own idea? Or did you actually have somebody feed a few words in your ears and give you some advice on that? be honest about that.
Well, my minister at my local church told me to wear that, so that I would somehow portray an anti-Christian facade. No, I dress like that because I'm comfortable. And I go out sometimes like that. And it depends on how warm it is, of course. It's awfully warm on stage. It would be nice if everyone were nude when they walked in. And we could be the same. I mean, if God wanted us to wear clothes, we would have had them at birth, and they would have grew the same time we grew. So I don't really believe in it so much.
Did you actually go to church?
Yeah, I used to. Till I realized that they were politicians too, most of the ministers.
Would you rather live here than the States? I mean, you seem to be pretty impressed and, well, not impressed, but you like what's going on here.
I like Europe a great deal. I've only been to Amsterdam and here. I like the spirit that's here. I wish there were some things I could bring back with me, some of that spirit. But I like where I live, I guess, because of the people I know. And see, I have to admit though, where I live, just the small little area that I live in, is a lot like here, a lot like Amsterdam. And people are learning to accept us.
What did you do in Amsterdam? Just a holiday or?
No, we played there.
Oh, you played there. When was that?
That was on Friday.
Oh, I see. Oh, you mean just right now?
Yeah.
So this is your very first European visit, right? Your very first outside home?
Yeah.
You've now sort of like traveled the States. You've
sort of, yeah.
Played here and there. What do you hope to accomplish? You obviously would love to hear your music played in Japan and everywhere else, right? You've got that. I should imagine that enthusiasm. Is it called enthusiasm? I should imagine.
I think the one thing I get out more than anything is when I see a real loose kid come up to me at a gig or something and say that they really get into what we do and they understand it. See, it's different when they just buy it because their friends bought it and then they're dancing to it or whatever and singing the words. But I don't know, it's different when someone comes up to you and they're just as free-minded as you are and they believe in the same things you believe. And when you take off some of your clothes at the gig, they're doing the same thing. That's the difference. I think I get off more on that than anything. I know that this, as well as most things other than whatever you can find in your mind, is really limited, so I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 more albums and I'll be done. Maybe not even that many. You know, I just want to do something else sometime. So it's like I don't look to accomplish any one thing, you know.
What would you see yourself doing?
It's something different. No, I don't know.
In music, though?
Not necessarily. Movies interest me. A lot of other things interest me. Painting and writing books and things like that. I think I'm into epic drama, so something that concerns that, maybe. You know, but that's the way I feel today. Who knows how I'll feel 6 months from now. So.
Have you starred in films or taken roles or anything?
I would never do that. I don't believe anyone can teach you an art. You know.
But you've never been in a film?
No.
But you
God,
would?
no.
You would like to be in a film?
I don't know. I think that's not exactly what I would want to be doing, you know, after I get done with this. I just said that's one of the things that interests me. I like going to movies. Maybe I'd like to be a grip on the set of one or something. I don't know about movies so much.
Now, when you compose, how do you compose? In a studio or at home?
It could be anywhere. I don't do much at home because, like I said, I usually stay with people and they're usually around and I'm kind of leery about doing things in front of others. Musically, that is. The last album, a lot was done in the studio, a lot was written and recorded in the same space of time. The album itself started out as demo tapes. That's how it's a little bit heavier than the last 2 I did, because it's more me than the other ones. The other ones were a little more planned. I sat down and wrote a song rather than just singing. You know, when you just sing whatever comes to mind and then write it out later and maybe change a few things here and there, it's a lot different and it's a lot more pleasing as far as I'm concerned. So a lot was done in the studio, and some was done out on the street whenever I'm alone mostly.
Now, do you actually, I mean, you must spend a lot of money, or the record company, on studio time for you?
I have a place that is real raggedy, and like the sound on the new album isn't that good. It's direct, but it's not, you know, it's not anything that will win any awards. But I don't want it to sound like that. So
you still want it to sound rough?
Yeah, just like it is, just like it really is. The album sounds a lot like the stage show. And the stage show is real rough. The only difference is that it's louder and harder edged, so which makes it more aggressive.
Now, people who have seen you live told me that you've actually touched on heavy metal live.
Well, I like to do guitar solos, and I have a great guitar player who, so if you could, yeah, I mean, you could say he's pretty heavy metal. Classification.
Heavy music, right? Forget heavy metal. Let's just say heavy music. And but why don't you use the musicians on stage for your album?
I think I will the next one. I didn't before because the last record was done at strange hours, I think it's rude to call people up at 4 in the morning unless their mom just died or something. And also because I wasn't sure if their heads were in the same space mine was, as far as where the song came from and stuff. And I think they understand a little bit more about the way I am, just from hanging out. You know, we understand one another. You know. So I think they'll probably do the next one.
Prince, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
This is the DE68 Hey channel.